I got a pile of bluestone back here somewhere. I'm trying to find it. This is 6 to 8 feet tall of bushes. I'm trying to force my way through. I know this is a tree that's fallen down right here. I don't know. This is going to be an exploratory mission. If I can even get the tractor back there, we're going to find out. Right in front of me here, there's an old foundation structure. I think this was a pump house at one time. I don't know if you can even see some of the concrete through the trees there. But that means that I think my bluestone is off to the right and then into the back there. I might try to squeeze over to the right here, but I'm gonna give it a little walk and make sure I'm not gonna fall into any foundation holes. Here it is. Like I said, we're gonna use some of this for hearth extension. We're putting in a wood stove. This was just here on the property, so we're gonna use it. There's lots of different sizes, but they're all generally, I'd say 12 to 16 inches, more or less square, and about 1.25 inches to maybe 2 inches thick. So I wanna get this whole pile out of here, but then I'm gonna pick through and find, suitable ones that are all about the same thickness and as thin as possible, so that I don't have to do too much leveling when I put these things in the house. So let's load them up. I'm gonna stop there. That's far more than we need for our project right now. That should give me enough variety so I can get the pieces I like. There's still quite a lot of material here, so I'm just gonna leave that. We'll come back for it another day, and maybe when we have another project. All right, in preparation for the new wood stove, I need to build a hearth extension, so I have it taped out on the floor, the space that we're gonna do. We're gonna try to use this stone. We have these pieces set aside, so I'm gonna just cut out inside the tape. I'm gonna have to add some structure underneath and some plywood, and then we can put the stone in. So down here in the basement, basically, so the fireplace is here in front of us. This is the edge of the existing hearth, just on the other side of that. So I'm gonna be cutting out the floor in here until about maybe halfway in this bay. I bought some 2x8s. This is already a double 2x8. It spans about 100 inches from that beam to this beam. I'm gonna add a third 2x8 over on this side. And I also noticed that this is not nailed very sufficiently. There's one here, one here, one here. So I'm gonna add a few more nails in there. I also bought some brackets to better fix this to the timber. So I'll put those up. Basically, I wanna make this as sturdy as possible because we're gonna be putting, a 400, 500 pound stove up there. And then, the stone itself is pretty heavy. It's probably a few hundred pounds all by itself. And I'm gonna have to add another 2x8 somewhere in here, wherever the cut ends up, so that these boards have something to land on and my plywood has somewhere to start. So I'll be adding at least 2 2x8s. I have a third one, and I may try to squeeze it in here, but it's gonna be kind of tough because you can see it's just sitting on stone, basically. So I may try to sweep that out a little bit and squeeze it in there, but I'll have to do that from the top probably once I get the floor cut off. We'll see. Oh, like a glove. I bought these angle brackets. They're Simpson L7OZ. I'm just going to use these up in the corner to better hold the floor joists to the timbers. Right now there's just a couple toenailed nails in this one, and the original floor joist is actually tenoned into the beam, but I don't want to just rely on that tenon to hold everything, so we're going to put these on to kind of keep everything in place. See if we can get this. All right. I just cut through from the top along my tape lines to kind of see. You can see the mark right there. And this is going to be a little challenging because I need the 2x8 is going to go right here basically. Very little gap. I may have to move this power maybe to the bottom. And I'm probably going to have to trim what I already cut because it's going to be sitting on these plates. But it is what it is. Let's see, where's the other one? Right here. There's the other one, and the other thing I did is I cut here. That's the left side. And I cut somewhere over here. I can't see. Oh, right there. That's the right side. So now I can kind of figure out where this whole thing is going to sit in here and cut the appropriate blocking and plywood. Slight change of plans. I've decided in here I'm actually going to run shorter pieces. They're like 18 inches long from here over to here of 2x8. I'm going to have to cut out a notch to clear here, you know, clear the stone, but so I'll do that, and I'll do it maybe like 12 or 16 on center. I haven't decided yet. And then on the outside here, I'm just gonna do, because I don't need the structure, so I'm just gonna do a 2x4 nailer like this. I'm actually gonna do 2 of them just to get the right thickness so that the floorboards have something to sit on. So I'm gonna nail that in, and then we'll do another one right next to it. I don't have to move the electric at all. And then I gotta cut the floor out because I cut a couple pieces here, but I really can't get them in there from the bottom. I gotta do that from the top. So next step, I'll nail these in and then I'll cut it out. Cut out the floor. Well, it's time. It's time to make some cuts. I don't want to go too deep, but I don't think I'm through. No, not yet. That made it. To finish those last cuts with maybe a jigsaw or oscillating tool, but get most of this out. Alright, I got this first one out. I had to break one to at least get it started. You know, they're all tongue and groove. But that came out alright. It's a shame I couldn't save it. You know, this is really nice wood. But we're gonna save the rest of it. Maybe we'll do something with it. But should be able to kind of, now that I've got one out, you know, I can get the rest of them, I can slide them over a little bit and try them out. Yeah. Alright, so that came out pretty good. Alright, making some good progress. Got a pile out. I just need to cut up this corner, finish the cut here. I'll do the same on the other end, and then work my way over. There's the hole all opened up. I've got these two pieces on the ends installed. One there, one there. I'm gonna mark out, I think just 16 on center is fine. So there are probably 1, 2, 3 or 4 more in there. I do have to cut this notch to go around the stone here. Not a big deal. Doesn't need all that thickness. If I had 2x6s, I'd use them, but I don't, so I'm using the 2x8s that I have. So let me mark that out and get them in. All right, framing's in. Couple things. If you measure out, there is supposed to be one right here, but it's so close to this that I'm not going to be able to get any useful filler in there, so I'm just going to leave it out. It'll be fine. The stove is not going to come out this far. The other thing, I didn't even notice till I was done, but I've been notching these to go around the stone. And, oops, I installed that one backwards. Fit just fine, so obviously my notch is not necessary. Guess I didn't need to waste the time doing that, but oh well. I'm installing blocking 3/4 of an inch below this plane, and I'm going to cut pieces of plywood to go in here. So I'm doing all these first, and I'm going to cut more for this direction. Got everything marked so I know where it all goes, and I'm using just a scrap piece of flooring board as my spacer. There we go. All the framing's in, all the blocking. Every one of these has kind of got a box, so I can set 3/4 plywood down in there, and it'll all be flush. That's the goal, at least. I gotta measure and cut those pieces of plywood, and then I'm gonna screw those down. Alright, got the plywood cut. They all fit pretty good. I'm just gonna screw these down now. This one's a little low over here. Not a big deal. Better low than high. That's just gonna be, you know, an extra 1/4 inch of mortar. Maybe I'll use my thicker stones if I can over on that edge. But just gotta screw them down, and then I think we're ready to lay out the stones. Alright, I think this is looking pretty good. Got the plywood screwed down and decided to try to kind of fit some pieces in here and see how they went. And I think we might need to make a few cuts, but kind of laid this out, and actually she looks really good. We'll need to trim a couple edges there to get those to sit down. There's this hole right there. Not really sure what we're going to do about that. Maybe I can, I don't know, chip a corner off and fill it up, or I don't know, not sure, but might play with this a little bit more. I may go out and get some more pieces depending on how these all line up, but overall I think it looks pretty good. And then we're gonna get the we're gonna rent the tile saw tomorrow so we can cut these to size and start laying them down. I've rented this tile saw for the day. I'm gonna try to cut this. This is just a piece that I've been testing. I tried to cut it, you know, like chip it with a chisel. Didn't work that well. I'm gonna do a test cut here, and then I'll start cutting the pieces that we need to fit for the hearth. I've got my bucket of water hooked up. That's so I can run fresh water. I don't want to reuse the, you know, recycle the water that's in here, so I'll just keep filling up the bucket if I need to. All right, first cut. Came out really nice. Cut's easy. Really like that. Of course, my, you know, Home Depot rental, the water pump doesn't work, so I've got my hose rigged up to just spray on the blade, but whatever, it works. So I guess I'll get to cut it. They're going pretty easy, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4 left to cut. I think this is gonna turn out good. This one's potentially slightly larger than this saw is intended for. Using some vice grips to keep it in place. It's hanging off the side of the table pretty good, but I mean, it fits, and we're gonna run it through, but maybe I should have got the larger size. We'll see. Need more trims.
Oh, no. Maybe you could just trim those two.
Maybe I'll trim, you're right, Joseph. Maybe I'll trim this one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You can trim that one. You can trim that.
This one will fit just fine. I got wiggle room there.
Joseph, your idea worked.
It's incredible. Great, Dad.
Great job, Dad.
Got all the pieces cut. I think it came out really well. I was impressed with that tile saw. Did an excellent job. We ended up kind of trimming a little bit, and final piece was this kind of triangular shaped thing. Had a number of cuts on it, but overall I think it's pretty good. gotta, now that it's here, I'm gonna number the pieces, kind of make a map. So I can pull it out and then put the mortar in and then basically set these all. I want to try to get them as level as possible so there's not like lips from one to the next. So I got to kind of find like the one that sits the highest and work from there. Figure out that how tall each one is. I think I'll probably set that one first and then kind of work around it if I can. This is the part of the project that I think I agonized over the most. I still don't know if it's the right decision, but I'm going with it. I'm using just regular mortar mix to set the stones in. I thought about thin set, thought about mortar, I thought about like even a sand bed I considered for a second. I'm setting 1.5 inch thick stone on top of plywood, and the plywood is only 3/4, which if you read anything, that's not nearly thick enough to set tile on because it will deflect too much. But it's what I have, and it's not going to get any thicker. I'm not worried at all about the stones breaking. The grout joints may loosen over time, so I'll have to keep an eye on that. I chose mortar because thin set's not going to be able to fill all the voids and stuff in the bottom of the rocks, I don't think. They're all slightly different thicknesses. So I think mortar is the right thing. If we have a problem, we'll rip it out and we'll do it again someday, but we'll see. So I'm just using this, simple grout pre-mixed charcoal color. It's sanded. I've done most of this, but there is a rather large gap back here that I ran out. So I gotta buy another jug just to fill in that one crack. But I think it looks pretty good on the whole. The color looks good. In about 4 hours, I will clean up the haze that's on the surface of the stone, but I think it looks pretty good and we're getting there. All right, there it is. Final product. They came and installed this. They were here probably an hour and a half, maybe close to 2 hours, but went way quicker than I expected. They were able to set it a little further back than we had anticipated when the guy came to measure and do the quote, which I think is great. Kind of keeps it tucked back to basically where I would have wanted it. And the result is that there's probably more hearth out in front of it than we need, but I still think it looks pretty great. And by the rules, we could probably have like 4 or 6 inches less stone in the front, but then we'd be cutting every single one of those pieces, and I think it looks good the way it is. So they did a liner. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see. So they put a stainless flexible liner up the chimney all the way to the top. We were able to keep using the slate chimney cap. They basically went up and terminated it underneath that. So from the outside, you can't tell that any work was done. And yeah, this is Vermont Castings Encore. The cool thing about this stove is that it can burn either with the catalyst or without. This was designed as a non-catalytic stove, and then they've made it still meets emissions requirements without the catalyst, but they include a catalyst if you want it. So right now it's not in. We're gonna burn a few times just to kind of get used to it without the catalyst, and then we'll see if we want to use it. If anybody has experience with this stove with and without the catalyst, I'd be curious to hear your experiences, but we're pretty excited and we can't wait. We're waiting for the weather to cool down so that we can do the break-in burns and not overwhelm the house. We'll probably do that in October or something, where we can open the windows and let the stink out, but still get this burning and get it warm. We're having our first real fire in the new stove, and just wanted to show you something interesting. Obviously, we can see the flames burning, but if you look in the back behind the main firebox, there's a little crack you can see there, and there's flames through that crack. That's the secondary combustion chamber, and that's the flue gas igniting a second time back there, and it actually generates a ton of heat. The side and like the back of the stove are really warm. So that's pretty cool. That's free energy that our old stove just sent up the chimney.